Reaction wheels function on the principle of conservation of angular momentum. As we can see with this little probe, I have absolutely no control right now. If I press any of my directional keys, shown at the bottom left here, the spacecraft does not rotate. However, I have these two helicopter engines mounted on it. And you might think, well, this is absolutely ridiculous. What is a helicopter going to do in space? Because there's no air. But actually what this is a reaction wheel. These are battery powered, so they convert electricity into spin. And what we find is that if you apply a torque to one of these helicopter engines, the rest of the spacecraft spins in the opposite direction. If you then apply the brakes to it, the spacecraft stops spinning. And of course, if we stop that motor and we start turning it the other way, the spacecraft turns in the opposite direction. Now, in real life, this leads us to a situation that Kerbal Space Program does not model, namely saturation. If we look at this, and I turn the torque limit up, and I start increasing the RPM limit with the brake off, you can see I can vary how fast we're spinning by using it. However, if I turn the RPM limit all the way up, this is exactly how fast I can spin this spacecraft. And this is determined by the size and the width of this reaction wheel. If I wanted to turn the spacecraft any faster than this for some reason, I would be completely unable to do so with this reaction wheel. So, as of this time, this spacecraft is locked in this rotation. That means that in real life, you can't purely use reaction wheels, to control your attitude, because they can get saturated and then you need some other way to dump momentum. In real life, this might be to use reaction control system thrusters to fire in the opposite direction while you throttle down the reaction wheel, so that you maintain the same orientation and the same torque, but your reaction wheel can slow down and therefore resume providing torque to your spacecraft. Or, on the other hand, you might use a system where you dump momentum into, for example, the Earth's magnetic field using a magnetorquer. This is used both on the Hubble Space Telescope and, I believe, on the International Space Station. However, Kerbal Space Program does not model this effect. If I go here and I re-enable the reaction wheel on the spacecraft, this reaction wheel will actually allow me to turn the spacecraft infinitely quickly. It does not have an internal limit to the amount of RPM it can put out, even though it's substantially less powerful than this rotor. So I can use this infinitely without ever having to desaturate this reaction wheel. It's also very notable that this is spinning me with substantially more torque than you're actually going to be able to fit into a reaction wheel inside of this command module. And it's burning almost no power. This makes reaction wheels kind of ridiculously overpowered in Kerbal Space Program. Thank you for watching this episode of Physics with Adult.